All right, welcome back. Welcome back. Math's easy, step by step. Welcome back to part 3. And I want to make sure I'm using those same fractions I used in part 1 and part 2 in order to show you how to use a products chart in order to find a common denominator. Listen, product is a mathematics term. Again, math is a language. You should learn the language. But I'm going to try to explain it in what's called layman's terms, as well as use those um, definitions and math terms so you can learn both, right? The product or products are answers to a multiplication problem. That's all a product means, right? They're answers to a multiplication problem. And so let's go ahead and take a look at what we can do to set up a products chart in order to find a common denominator and manipulate a fraction so we can get that same bottom number in order to add or subtract. All right, so as you can see here, these are the two same fractions as I used in part 1 and part 2. 3/4 plus 4/8. Again, you cannot add or subtract fractions unless the denominators, the bottom numbers, are the same. So what I've done is I've taken the denominator and I made this easier for you to follow. I highlighted them, one in the yellow, one in the green, and I placed them at the top of my T chart, right? My products chart. And so what I'm going to do with each of these one at a time is I multiply times 1, times 2, times 3, 4, 5, all the way down to 10, 11, 12, maybe 15 if I have to, depending on the numbers in the bottom of the fractions. And so 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8, right? 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 5 is 20, right? And I wrote all of these down. And then I'm going to start with my 8. 8 times 1 is 8, right? 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 4 is 32, and 8 times 5 is 40. So I want you to notice something here, right? I've circled the number that both 4 and 8 share in the denominator, right? And that's 8. But I've also squared another product that they both share, right? 8 times 2 is 16. 4 times 4 is 16. Now, if you chose to use 16, absolutely you could, because they are a common denominator, but in your final answer, you'd have to reduce or simplify your fraction. So you want to find the smallest or the least common denominator. In this case, 8 would be the least or smallest common denominator. That doesn't mean you don't have to reduce. I'd say majority of the time you will not have to reduce. Sometimes you do, right? So again, 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 1 is 8. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom the fractions that give me with a number that gives me the same product, right? Let me show you what that looks like here. All right, so as mentioned in parts 1 and 2, you can multiply 4 times 2 to get 8, right? And then 8 times 1 is 8. So that would give me the common denominator. What we do to the bottom part of the fraction, we have to do to the top part of the fraction, right? 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 1 is 4. So then we get 6 over 8 plus 4 over 8. Now the denominator bottom number is the same. Now we can add or in a different case, subtract. Okay, so I wanted to show you here, again, 4 times 8, 4 times 2 is 8. When we do the bottom, we got to do the top. 3 times 2 is 6, plus, plus. We found on our products chart that 8 times 1 gives me 8. That's that common denominator. I do the bottom, I got to do the top. 4 times 1 is itself 4. So now I want you to also notice that the denominator 8, 8, 8, it stays 8. We're not adding the bottom number, right? We're not adding 8 plus 8 to get 16. No, that denominator stays the same. And it goes back to that visual chart, right? There are only 8 parts that make up that whole, which is our denominator. So it stays the same throughout adding and subtracting, okay? Hopefully that clarifies some confusion for some folks. So we only add the numerator, which is the top part. So 6 plus 4 is 10. Now I want to say every time you must reduce your fractions, right? What number can be divided evenly into the top that would also be divided evenly into the bottom without a remainder? Other than 1, right? Because 1 just keeps the fraction the same, 10 over 8. So I know I can divide 5 into 10, but I cannot divide 5 into 8 evenly. Okay, is there another number? Well, I can divide 2 into 10, which gives me 5, and I can divide 2 into 8, which gives me 4. This fraction would reduce to 5/4. Don't worry, I'm going to go over in detail how to reduce, but for now, we're going to focus on finding common denominator, and I'll talk about reducing, but I also have some videos prepared later on in some of the parts that will show you intently how to reduce your fraction and some pretty key strategies that you can use. All right, so this ends part 3. In part 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I've got many examples where I'm going to go over using these product charts in order to find a common denominator to add and to subtract. So if I've helped you, please help me to help others. Like, follow, share, subscribe. Math is easy. Take it step by step. Thank you for joining me.